Hello, this is the Just Because Buzz, Thread Tales number 16. I'm Merritt Crawford, and thank you for joining me. Today is Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. I want to welcome you all for coming by and visiting with me today. I'm going to be talking about cross-stitch and quilting and just my plans. It looks like 3 weeks is kind of my sweet spot for filming and recording and sharing with you all, so I think I might try that schedule from here on out. If this is your first time, I share about my cross-stitch journey, my quilting journey. I do some wool applique, and I like to share an encouraging word at the end. Sometimes there's a giveaway, and today is one of those days celebrating my 500 subscribers. So thank you for joining me. If you like what you see, I hope you'll like and subscribe, and I love reading your comments, and I would appreciate comments too. I like to respond as well. So let's jump in. The news I'd like to share, as you know, we've been doing the Strawberry Pickin' 21 Sal. I'm hosting this with Kathleen over at Stitchuationnormal, and we are stitching things that have strawberries. So you get to pick whatever chart you like and share the hashtag and share your photos on Instagram, and you can share it on Facebook too. So I am doing the Blackbird design, the BeeCuzz from Agnes Platt's Strawberry Sampler, and I'll share that in a little bit with my whips. Kathleen is doing Strawberry Fields Forever Blackbird design. It just happened that we both had picked a Blackbird design, but you can pick any design and share it. There's also Crafty Cottage Stitches, and they started a sal with strawberry as well. It's called Strawberry Social. And the sew is spelled S-E-W. And it's been fun to watch things pop up on their feed as well because of all the strawberries and the different charts that they found, and also just the stitching, quilting that has popped up as a result. So it's really been fun. In other news, last year, around this time is about when I started watching FlossTube. It may have been a little bit later, maybe in May. And I kept hearing people talk about Stitch Mania, and I was like, what is that? And so I kept watching and different videos, and just learned about people starting projects in May. And sometimes it was a lot of projects, sometimes it was not so many, but we're making new starts and seeing how far they could get. So I decided that I would join in this year with kind of a modification. I'm not going to stitch something new every day or start something new every day, but I thought I would stitch on something that I've been wanting to stitch for a while, and that is anything with bees, because, you know, my name is so Just Because, and that's my Instagram name. And then the Just Because Buzz, the title of my YouTube channel. So I thought for Maynia, I would stitch bees. And my title for Maynia is going to be May Be Maynia. And I'll have a hashtag for that with the year. So I'm going to share with you now what my Maynia plans are going to be, and remember, it's going to be May Be Maynia. Kind of a play on words there. So the first one that I'm thinking about stitching, and I looked at my calendar to figure out a plan, and there are 5 Saturdays in May this year. And so I'm going to start a new chart on each Saturday and kind of have a plan. Not all of them are big things, purposely, because I want to finish. I don't like having a lot of whips. So not all of my charts are going to be big. But the first one is, because I feel like if I get started on it and work on it for a week and then do a small, and if I finish the small, then I can go back and work on this one till the next Saturday starts the next chart. So the first one is Black Sheep Sampler by Elizabeth's Designs, and this is one I got in an estate sale, so it's got price tags all over it. But anyway, if you can overlook those price tags, I've tried to take them off and it just really messes up the chart. So right now I'm going to leave them. But this is the first one that I'll start on May 1st. And as you can see, it's got the cute little bee skep in there and some other things like the flowers and the vine and the sheep. It does have specialty stitches. Those tulips in the border are a type of specialty stitch. Let's see if it gives me a name. It's just saying back stitched, but it is a satin stitch of some sort. And the heart is satin stitched. So that will be May 1st. And I do have to get some fabric for that, for this one. It calls for 36 count flax, Edinburgh linen. It uses all DMC, and that's what I will use. Okay, on May 8th, I'm going to do Summer Basket again. I've already done this once, and I did it for a friend of mine, hey Janann, and stitched it in memory of her mom. And so made it into a little pillow for her, and you can go back and look at one of my other videos. I can't remember which number it is exactly, but last fall I showed it, and it has this cute little bee button right here. So I'm going to stitch this again, and look, it also has strawberries, so it fits right in. So I will stitch this again. I will use maybe a combination of DMC and some fancy floss, depending. I really like how the letters look variegated in this, and so I might have some fancy floss I could use for that. I'm not sure. So that'll be a small. And then the next one on May 15th is I'll be home for Christmas. So I'm going to do a little early Christmas stitching, and this is a real simple little chart. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the black background or not. I don't even know if I have any in my stash, and I will try to stitch from stash on this one. I recently found this button, and I was like, that looks familiar, and it's the same button in this chart, so that's why it's floating around in here. I will pull this out so you can see it maybe a little bit better. There it is. And this initially is stitched on a 10 count black heather field, but I don't have that, so we'll see what I come up with to stitch this on. Okay, so May 22nd is going to be Country Cottage Needleworks, and it's going to be Summer Garden. This was also one that I found at an estate sale. And again, I'm not sure about the fabric I'll use for this. It calls for a 32 count water lily linen, and I'm not exactly sure what color that is. It might be somewhat of a light green, but I'm not sure. So I don't have that in stock either, but it uses all DMC threads, so that's going to be what I will use. And I just think it's so cute. I love all the little bees lying around. A little kitty cat and bunny. And then the final one is going to be May 29th. It's in the 2020 spring Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine. And it's this chart. And the name of it is Tomato Time Needle Book. And it's got this cute little bee here at the top. So I just think that's really cute. It does call for Vintage Country Mocha Edinburgh linen, a 36 count, and it uses Week Style Works, or it gives you a full DMC conversion. So again, I'll look and see what I have, and I will start that. So I hope maybe I've inspired you. If you want to stitch any bee things, we could stitch bee things together in maybe Maynia. So anyway, that's my plans for May. I hope I don't overwhelm myself. We'll see. Things are flexible, right? You can change your mind. So now I'll move into my part where I like to show an old FFO. Sometimes it's my work, sometimes it's a family member's work or a friend's work. And today it's a family member's work, and it's my sweet mother-in-law, Mary. She has passed on, but she was a wonderful seamstress, and I was able to have some of the things from her collection of things she stitched or things that she quilted. And these are 2 quilt projects. She used to belong to a Benartex club. Benartex is a quilting cotton fabric company, and they had a club where you could join yearly, and every month you received what we now call as like charm squares, the 5-inch squares, in a little packet, and it would be maybe a fabric line, a full fabric line from one of the designers. And each little packet had a little pattern and a newsletter, and you can make the pattern if you wanted to. And she really enjoyed that. And they were smalls, so it was something that she could finish and complete. And so this is one of them that she did. And she loved the color lavender. And so this is just like a little table topper. And then she just did some simple stitching with her machine to quilt it. And these are just, the flowers are just fused on with like a fusible applique. So I love this, such a sweet little treasure of hers. And then another one that she had, the same thing, Benartex. This was a line that they sent her. And she did some decorative stitching on her machine. If I can show it. There it is, maybe. Such a sweet piece. So I treasure these. Okay, now I'm going to move into my new FFOs, and I have quite a few for you today, so I hope you will enjoy this part of the program. All right, the first one is, actually it's 2. It's out of Just Cross Stitch magazine, and this is a magazine that I found at a thrift shop. It's the November-December 1984, and it is Prairie Schoolers, and I've showed these before, but now I've got them fully finished, both of them. And I'm learning as I fully finish using Vonna Pfeiffer's tutorials and just learning from myself and my own mistakes. And I'll show you what I mean. The first one is the little goat. And like I said, I used Vonna's tutorial to do the cording and to do the finishing. So my cording goes all the way around, and I stop and make a loop and then continue on around. And the loop is secured by using a stainless steel push pin. And then I use a little bit of what's left over of the cording to make the bow after I go around the piece in the center as well. And then here's the back. And this piece of homespun is out of a collection or stash that my aunt had given me. So thank you. And then here's the little sheep. And it was just finished the same way. And I learned that it takes more DMC thread to make cording than I realized. It actually took 2 skeins for each of these ornaments to make the cording to have enough to go around the outside edge and the inside. So just to give you a tip on that. Now I'm going to show you both of them together and you're going to see the difference. I'm learning about cutting them, and I did use the method and where you lace them. I laced both of them, but I messed up on cutting so that they're the same. But anyway, they won't be hanging side by side on anything at Christmas time. They'll probably either be on a tree or in a display somewhere, and so they won't likely be side by side, so no one would really pick that out, I don't think. But I love how they turned out, and thank you, Vonna. So my next one was a freebie that was given to us by, I believe it's Christina, Whilst Iris Snaps. And I decided to do the carrots, and the carrots are called spring carrots. And I did part of the pattern. So I'll show you hers again. So those are her carrots. And here's mine. So I just did a little stand-up pillow with a little yo-yo. And this yo-yo is actually a kind of an oxymoron. It's a square yo-yo. Anyway, put a little tiny yo-yo upside down with the bow and the ceramic button from Mill Hill. And then did a rickrack trim, tacked it on using the same green variegated thread from DMC, and then did French knots all the way around to continue to tack it on. And then used this fabric for the back. Thought it was so cute. Again, a fabric from my aunt. And I'll show you, for the carrots, I didn't have what was called for the thread that Christina called for. So I used a trick that Cynthia was stitching in the light uses. I used one strand of each to stitch my carrots from these two DMCs. So that's the color that I got from my carrots. So those are the colors I used from DMC. So if it's kind of looks like it was blurry a little bit. So 3853 and 3854. And then the DMC floss that I used is the variegated 92. And I stuffed it with walnut shells or the lizard litter. So it's just a stand up. All right. The next one I want to share with you was a freebie from Blackbird Design, and it's Now I Know My ABCs. And again, I made it into a little pillow that can go in my dough bowl, or, well, actually I don't have a dough bowl, but I have a pecan bowl from my uncle that he made for me. So it can go in my pecan bowl. And I can use this piece at 4th of July, Memorial Day. I can also use it at Christmas. I love this was my first red work sampler that I did, and Laura on Brenda and the Serial Stitcher, Brenda and Laura say that rule number 7, you have to have a red sampler in process or work at all times. So this is one of them that I've done. This was my first one. And then I used velveteen to back it. And boy, velveteen is not easy to work with. I struggled with it. Finally, I was stitching and making this last Friday with Louise, and Louise said, "All right, now why don't you just hand baste it on first and then stitch it?" And so that's what I did, and that helped a lot. But man, I've got to watch some tutorials on sewing with velvet, because it just really wanted to wiggle and move on me. I also stuffed this with the crushed walnut shells. So that was a fun one. The next one I'm going to show you is a portion of a pattern from Melissa at Pinker and Punkin Quilting that she put out last year. It's the Santa mug. And I started stitching the Santa mug, the whole pattern, and then I think I wasn't leaving myself enough room. And so I decided to stop and start over, and I used the piece that I had initially started to just make a small ornament or a pillow, and I decided to make a pillow. And I also backed it with the red velvet, but before I cut out my velvet, I embossed the velvet, and the embossing came from using a rubber stamp this little Christmas light rubber stamp. Pretty solid, doesn't have a lot of detail. And so I'm going to show you the back first. So this is the velvet, and I embossed it using that stamp, and then just using an iron that has a solid plate so that you don't get the whole steam holes on your velvet. So if you decide to do this, you have to use iron with a solid plate, or at least has a space that has a solid piece on it. And so I embossed the velvet and then cut it out to fit my little pillow. And this is just a piece of homespun that I had in my stash. Took 2 pieces of rickrack and wove it together for some trim, and used the C for the center. And I really like how it turned out. And I love the embossing. That was fun. But it was a challenge to stitch, so I'll have to, like I said, work on watching a tutorial for that. And then, let's see, horse and buggy reproduction. So I've talked to you about my cross-stitch pieces that I found at an antique store that were silhouettes, and I'm working on charting those. I've got them both charted, and I have one of the charts. I have 2 friends that are looking over the charts and just perhaps stitching it up just to see if there's any mistakes before I release it. But I did get one fully finished, so I wanted to show you that. And this is the horse and buggy, 1890. And this is stitched on, I believe it's a 30 count linen, just an antique white linen. And, or actually it's 28 count, excuse me. And I used Carolina Blue by Color and Cotton. I recently reached out to Color and Cotton because I was on their website looking for more Carolina Blue and it wasn't listed. So I reached out to them and they have discontinued this color. I was bummed. But she said the color that you can use for it, grab my paper real quick. The color you can use for it is Delft. It's D-E-L-F-T blue. I also reached out to Keepsake's cross-stitch shop in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Stephanie of Pam and Steph responded and said that they did have 3 skeins of the Carolina Blue left in stock. That's where I initially purchased my Carolina Blue, was from them. And so if you really wanted the Carolina Blue to stitch this, I know they have it, but it is a discontinued color. So I used a Hobby Lobby box, and I'll show you that now. I bought another one to finish my other one. So this is what it looks like initially. And it has the hanger on the back, and I had to move the hangers because of the way this cross stitch is situated on point. And I used a piece of foam core in the back and a piece of Brenda Riddle quilt fabric, and then put a little bit of rickrack around the edge. I also laced this, and I just find like I do better if I lace it rather than gluing. And then used a little piece of the fabric to make a covered button and some ribbon at the top. And then, like I said, I had to move the hanger. So here you can see where it was, and I moved it to here. So these are in the spring section right now, and they're 40% off. And I really like how it turned out. So I have also stitched the other piece. This is the other one, the bicycle built for 2. And I've stitched it on a coffee tea dye fabric. This is like a 28 count. And then this is a Valdani blue and black thread that I stitched on. It's a variegated thread. You can see the changes in the thread there. So I also wanted to stitch it in the Carolina Blue. So I'm almost finished with this. I'm missing the little running stitches here, and I ran out of floss. So I was disappointed that the floss is so close. Using, I was hoping we could do one skein, but now I'm scared to even tell somebody that you could use one skein when you're stitching both of these, if you wanted both of them. So anyway, but you can stitch it in any color that you want. I mean, obviously this was just a fun suggestion that Kathleen over at Stitchuationnormal suggested maybe trying it in a blue, and I thought the Carolina Blue was so pretty, but at the time didn't realize it was going to be discontinued. But you could stitch it in any color that you wanted, and once I get these released, I will be sure to let you all know. They have been fun to work on. Put these away for a moment. Another finish that I worked on is, you all know how I enjoy milk glass, and so I made a pincushion with the milk glass again, using the Rick Rack, and did a wool flower with a vintage button. And so that was fun. And then the final thing that I wanted to show you is our bag for our giveaway that I made. So let's get some of these things cleared away and see if I can find that. So my inspiration for the bag was April showers, spring May flowers. So I thought, well, an umbrella. And I've been working on this quilt for quite some time, and unfortunately I haven't gotten it all finished. I do have my blocks made, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is a Edita Sitar dancing umbrellas, and this was the inspiration for my bag. And I have made lots of the blocks. I just need to stitch around them. So there's plenty of blocks here. Just show you a few. And my thought, mine are very different from hers, but my thought was a stormy looking sky. So I gotta get back on this. So many projects. But this is the bag for the giveaway. So I used her umbrella pattern and some fabrics from my stash. The umbrella is made out of batiks, and I have some batik up here. And then the raindrop fabric is just regular cotton fabric. Has a vinyl front. And the little zipper pull is a little dragonfly. And then the back is some spool fabric. And you can see the umbrella quilted. I did a button stitch around the umbrella on my machine. So we'll talk about the lucky winner here in just a moment. All right, so finishes. I did have a couple of finishes this past time. And the first one is out of the Winds of Autumn book. I've showed you that I finished the Mighty Acorn, and I've joked about stitching from the back to the front of this book because there's so many wonderful projects. And so these 3 projects are next if you're going from the back to the front. And so I had plenty of leftover threads from Mighty Acorn, and I decided I'd like to use those instead of buying more thread or different threads to complete some of the other projects. And so what I decided to do was stitch all 3 of those onto one little piece of linen, and I'll make a little pillow for the fall. And these are like the leftover threads that I had from Mighty Acorn. So they're so small, they fit on this scrap piece of linen, and I can just make this sweet little pillow for the fall. So that was one finish. And then I showed you the other one just a minute ago with my bicycle built for two. It's almost finished. I just need to get another skein of the Carolina blue and finish the little running stitches at the bottom. And then quilting, behind me is Old Tannenbaum, and I'll just move out of the way just a moment so you can see that. I have the borders on. I have the courthouse steps at the center of the borders, but you can see between the main part of the quilt and the border around the corners, there's open space of my design wall, and I'm waiting on some fabric. I ran out of the blue fabric that should go there, and a friend down in Alabama is mailing me the fabric that she had, and I'm hoping I'm going to have enough. If not, I'll just have to choose another blue fabric. But that is Old Tannenbaum, and it is coming along, and with Louise's encouragement, it will get done. Thank you, Louise. And in other quilting whips, I showed you this last time, and this is out of the Simple Seasons Kim Deal book, and the name of the project is Tulips and Tossed Greens. And maybe a better picture might be this one. I've showed you this. So it's a table runner with yo-yos, and then it has applique tulips on it as well. And the last time I was showing it to you, I had made the vine and was in need of putting the vine on, and I have started that, but it is a tedious process. So I've got some of the vine stitched down, and so I've also got the parts that's not stitched, it's just pinned on with some applique pins. So, looking forward to getting this done. It's a pretty big table runner. And then I have a friend down in Alabama who is going to be moving, and they decided to make house blocks. So I chose a house block out of Lori Holt's spelling bee book. So I'll be sending this down to Alabama to be put into a quilt for her. So that's what I did in my quilting. And now we're going to go back to cross stitch with my whips. So let's see. First thing is giving thanks. And this is a free pattern from Hirschner's. You just have to call and ask about the pattern, and you have to pay the shipping. So give thanks. And it will be turned into a table mat, and you can see it has the wool tongues there all the way around. So I've made some pretty good progress on it since we last visited. So I've started the T, I've got the K and the S in, and I'm coming around with the vine, and then there's more up here as well. So this is coming along. I'm stitching this on a piece of black fabric that I hand dyed, and I'm actually using one strand of floss because I feel like my holes kind of shrunk and it wasn't showing up very well. It's a 28 count Joblin. It was ivory, and I dyed it. And let me show you. these are the those are the threads. So I'm very much enjoying this one. So the next WIP I'll show you is going to be the unfinished sampler, and this was provided by Michelle at MommaLovesYouGB on Instagram and on FlossTube YouTube. And it's a sampler that had 2 rows of alphabet, and then the alphabet was finished on the 3rd row, and there's a symbol down here, I believe, and then that was it. There was nothing else other than the border that went all the way around. So she challenged us to stitch it and then add our own motifs in the center. So that's my plan. I'm stitching it in Weekstyleworks Cayenne, and I had to come to a stop on it. I was putting 1 strand of thread in each night, but I ran out of Cayenne. Something I'm learning about stitching in one color on a whole piece is you're going to need more than 1 skein, and I didn't even think about it when I ordered it. So I've got 2 more skeins coming, and hopefully that will help me finish this piece. But it's been fun to stitch on, and it's something red. I have it in the works. So the next piece that I have is the April Sampler by Cottage Needleworks. And this is the little picture of it. And this is my progress. So I'm down here working on the final part down here, which is like a little flower swag, and then I'll go up here and finish the eggs and carrots and the bunnies and then the other flower swag. And this is stitched on the called for threads, which is or stitched on the called for fabric, which is a 32 count beautiful beige linen, and it uses Classic Colorworks. There was a thread pack you could buy for all of them. Okay, the next one is the BeeCuzz, and this is my Strawberry Pickin' 21 Sal bag, and this is the book, and I'm stitching this piece right here. And this is something else I've learned. This book came out in 2013, and when I picked the threads that were called for in the book, they don't look exactly the same as what's in the book. And I'm not sure what the difference is, other than maybe dye lot changes over the past 8 years. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing and my plan, because as I started stitching the house, I really noticed a difference. And I really liked the house. That was what drew me to it, besides the BeeCuzz. But I'll show you my plans. Let me go ahead and grab the thread out so I can show you what I'm talking about. So this is my progress so far. And you can see the house is quite a bit darker as far as the roof and the mortar. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I think what I decided is I'm going to continue adding the maple syrup in for the roof. And to me, this maple syrup looks a lot darker than what is shown in the house roof on here. I don't know. I think it's dye lot changes maybe. And then burlap was what was called for the mortar. And to me, that looks a lot darker. And when I was comparing what the DMC called for, it is, to me, very different. So what I've decided to do is I'm continuing with the burlap and the molasses, or excuse me, the maple syrup in the roof part. I'm going to go ahead and continue those two. I've already finished all the mortar for the roof, and I'm adding the maple syrup now. And then for, excuse me, I'm telling you wrong. It wasn't burlap. It was Harvest Basket. Sorry. Harvest Basket is the called for mortar color. And this is the DMC. So there's quite a bit of difference there. I told you wrong. Apologize for that. And there's the maple syrup next to it. So what I'm going to do with the house is I am going to use the called for colors for the brick. And I'm going to use the called for DMC for the mortar. And hopefully I'll like it. I'll be satisfied with it. I think I will. So I'll keep you posted. So I think what has happened over the years, the dye lots have changed. And it just looks different than the picture. And in the future, if I'm really drawn to the picture, like a lot of us are, then I'll make sure that maybe I should pull the DMC as well and compare and see what I think. The final whip that I have, I joined the Kindred Spirits Sampler Guild up in Michigan, and they have a name tag that they request that you make for yourself. So I started my name tag. So it's got a little house, it's got 2 weeping willows and a bird, and so I'm working on that to get that finished. And maybe you can see it. This is the color palette. So I'm working on that. So those are my whips right now. And my plans, I have a birthday tomorrow. So I'm going to start a birthday start. And I haven't had a start like this since January when I started Mighty Acorn. So I am excited to start this. So what I've decided on, and I believe Louise is going to join me maybe. I would love for anybody else to join in. But this is out of the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine for this year, 2021, the spring edition. Many of you have probably seen it. And I have decided to stitch Sampling of Spring. So very cute. And of course it has bees. So I am going to use this piece of fabric and some of my own conversion here because I don't have all the colors that it calls for. So I am going to change, there's a row of tulips here. So they have the carrots, and then they have the row of tulips. And I think I'm going to make my tulips red. They used the same color for the carrots and the tulips. And I think I want to add a little pop of red in there, because red is my favorite color. So. And then I am going to change my bird color because I don't have the called for color. Some of the colors that they call for don't have a DMC conversion. So I chose my own blue for the bird, and I'm going to use the 518. But everything else is just about the same, I think, except for the tulips. I decided to do, I'm going to try to do, and I say try because I'm not sure I have enough thread, but I think I will. Classic Colorworks Tennessee red clay, I think is what I'm going to use. So this is kind of a muted palette, so I decided not to make my red just real red, but I'll try that. If not, I may choose a different red to try to give it a little bit more of a pop of color. But I'll be starting that tomorrow. All right, so now I'm going to get into haul. And the first thing I have, this is kind of a book haul. I've found quite a few books or magazines. So this one, 101 Itty Bitty Celebrations by Lisa Bonjean of Primitive Gatherings. And they're tiny little wool applique, and it's 101 of them. And they're around 2 inches square to 2 1/4 or something like that. And they were so cute. And I like the way they displayed them on this little block with a little clip. I thought that was just really cute. Be fun for a tier tray that so many people are doing, decorating those. And look at the strawberries. How cute. So she has all kinds of things in here, from sports to birthdays to seasonal. This is the back. Pets. Just all kinds of things. So just really a fun little book. Found it at Joann's, 30% off. So that was nice. Also at Joann's, I found Prim and Proper. So this has been out for a little bit, but it's a Lori Holt. And I really think this is a pretty quilt. But it also has some other projects in it as well, and decided to pick that up. And picked up the latest American Patchwork and Quilting magazine. And one of the reasons I picked it up is because of an article that features, let's see, Susan, and I'm not sure I'm going to say her name right, Susan H.E. I'm not sure. I apologize if I said that wrong. But she is a quilter and a cross stitcher, and she has some of the prettiest little, look at her cross stitch. She has a great Instagram feed too, and just beautiful displays in her home. And you'll get the magazine and read the article about her. I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But decided to pick this up. I don't get it every month, and just picked it up off the newsstand. And then last weekend, my daughter and I went over to Grand Rapids, Ohio, and there's some cute little antique shops there and a bee store where I get my honey, but there's so many little bee things over there too. And found a book at one of the stores. They have a bookstore over there of just old books and vintage books, and found one on silhouettes and cross stitch. So I thought I'd get that out and use it for some of my research on the silhouettes that I'm charting. So that was fun. And then I got the, excuse me, the stitch box. Excuse me. So, all right. Let's see. Recipe. Peanut chicken wraps by Simply Whisked. We have had those twice at least in the last few weeks. And there's a peanut sauce that you make, and I now have a note on the recipe that you need to double it. It's really good, and I think you'll like it. So I will link that recipe in the show notes, and I will also add a picture here so that you can see what it looks like. And next, our giveaway is Nevada Stitcher, and congratulations. I will comment on your comment, and you'll just need to email me your address so that I can send it out to you. And I'm so excited that you won, and I hope you will enjoy your bag. And again, it's the Edita Sitar Dancing Umbrellas project bag. And then finally, I want to end with an encouraging word. And today in Psalms, it says in Psalms 92, "It is good to give thanks to the Lord and to sing praises to thy name, O Most High, to declare thy loving kindness in the morning and thy faithfulness by night." And one time when I was listening to a pastor preach on this passage or this verse, he said in reference to declare thy loving kindness in the morning, He said, that is the key to the morning, is declaring the loving kindness of the Lord, and thy faithfulness by night. And that is the lock of the evening, to declare thy faithfulness by night. And he is faithful and true. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy every stitch, and sew just because.